The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Oh, snap. You didn't expect to hear from me on a Monday. This is a rare deep, shallow dive on a Monday. But you know what? I felt very compelled yesterday, and this is going to be interesting what I decided to do today. So over the weekend, oh my God, I saw so many just fights among my friends, first of all, but then also just among obviously random people on social media in regards to the press conference that took place on Friday between President Trump and I guess JD Vance and then Vladimir Zelensky. And I will tell you, this is interesting. So last night I was like going through some posts, and there was one guy that wrote something interesting where he's like, the funny thing about all these arguments is I guarantee you nobody even knows what the point of that press conference was. And I really guarantee you that nobody watched the entire 57-minute press conference. And so all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit. This guy's probably right. Like, what was the point of that press conference? Like what was that about? And that really hinges on all that everybody saw and reacted to were maybe 2 to 3 clips where obviously it was the crazy, argumentative, Trump and Vance being bullies, kind of, degrading Zelensky. And that was what everybody really was reacting to. And so when I read that comment, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know what that press conference, like, why did they call that? And so the point of that press conference was they were supposed to sign an agreement where the United States is going to basically create some type of fund in order to help rebuild Ukraine, because obviously it's probably destroyed. And then as part of that, we get this 50% split of the rare earth minerals that I guess Ukraine is plenty in. Now, remember, this is the stuff that like this is crazy. Seriously, think about this. In the 3 years of this war, you never really heard the Biden administration ever talk about these rare earth minerals. Now, again, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. We'll table that for a second. But you did hear Lindsey Graham, good old Lindsey Graham, talk about how Ukraine has all these rare earth minerals. And so we should support this war in order to get access to it. At the time, obviously, I'm not a fan of Lindsey Graham, but now that I kind of think about it, I mean, I do have to give that little weasel credit for being honest about that. So anyway, so here's point number one is that this press conference was intended to announce that agreement and to announce that, we were going to have this 50-50 split. Okay. Point number two is that, if all you saw on social media or if all you thought this press conference was the 2 or 3 or 4 60-second clips where it was, obviously very combative between, again, Trump, Vance, and Zelensky, you would have no idea that this was a 58-minute press conference. So I actually downloaded the 58-minute press conference, and we are going to go through it. I'll cut out stupid parts that don't mean anything, but I watched it once and then I downloaded it. God, I can't believe I watched it once and then I downloaded it, and we're going to go through it again. But I think this is going to be really good. I really do. And I think you're going to have such a better understanding of that day. So let's do it.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have President Zelensky of Ukraine. And we've been working very hard, very close. So we've actually known each other for a long time. We've been dealing with each other for a long time and very well. We had a little negotiation spat, but that worked out great. I think for both countries, I think for the world, actually, beyond both countries. And we have something that is a very fair deal. And we look forward to getting in and digging and working and getting some of the rare earth but it means we're going to be inside, and it's a big commitment from the United States, and we appreciate working with you very much, and we will continue to do that. We have had some very good discussions with Russia. I spoke with President Putin, and we're going to try and bring this to a close. It's something that you want and that he wants. We have to negotiate a deal, but we've started the confines of a deal, and I think something can happen. The big thing is the number of soldiers, mostly at this point, but soldiers being killed. You're losing thousands of soldiers. On both sides, we're losing a lot of soldiers, and we want to see it stop, and we want to see the money get put to different kinds of use, like rebuilding. And we're going to be working very hard, but we've had a lot of very good conversations. I will say until we came along, the Biden administration didn't speak to Russia whatsoever.
All right, I am going to interrupt here and there. So this is Trump's, beginning speech. And by the way, right now, everything is super calm. You've got JD Vance on the couch. You've got Marco Rubio on the couch. By the way, Marco Rubio has terrible posture. He literally looks like a little child sitting on on this couch. I don't know how tall he is, but it looks like his feet are dangling. And he's just like slouched over. He's got terrible posture. Pete Hegseth is there as well. And then just picture a room full of reporters. So one thing I did want to say on what Trump just said there is, again, you got to call a spade. And for all you Democrats and for you supporters of the Biden administration, Biden and Harris, you do have to question the fact that in 3 years or 2.5 years, the Biden administration never once reached out to Vladimir Putin in order to just say hey, Vlad, all right, dude, let's try to put an end to this. You really do. Think about that. This is not high school fights. This is global countries. And so when you are the president of the United States, and by the way, you've sent $200 billion, how do you not want to take the time to have a conversation with that adversary, in this case being Putin? I'm sorry, I really do believe that. And again, that's we should all agree on that. We should all be hey, yes, this is not like child's play. The president should be, trying to be diplomatic and try to bring a war to an end. And again, let alone, you've got to reach out to the other side. So the fact that Biden never did that in his entire term, that's pretty crazy. All right, let's get back to this. I think Zelensky's about to make his opening statement.
They didn't speak to anybody. They just allowed this to continue. And I will say that, I'll say in front of you, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, if I were president, this war would have never happened. We would have had a deal negotiated for you without having to go through what you've gone through.
Okay, really quick. Yes, Trump did say that, but then he also said during the entire campaign and before he got sworn in that he would end the war in 24 hours. And obviously we're 35 days into the presidency and he hasn't done that. So anyway, you got to be fair on that, DJT.
But your soldiers have been unbelievably brave. We've given them great equipment, but somebody has to use the equipment. They've been unbelievably brave. And we give them great credit. This was supposed to be over very quickly, and here we are 3 years later. So I give tremendous credit to your generals and your soldiers and yourself in the sense that it's been very hard fighting, very tough fighting. They're great fighters, and you have to be very proud of them from that standpoint. But now we want to get it over with. It's enough, right? We want to get it over with. So it's an honor to have you here. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to sign the agreement at the conference in the East Room in a little while, right after lunch. And we'll be having lunch together. We're also discussing some other things. And we appreciate everybody being here. It's somewhat of an exciting moment. But the really exciting moment is when we when they stop the shooting or we end up with a deal. And I think we're fairly close to getting that. And an honor to have you. And please, I'd like to say something.
All right. So again, I mean, think about it. This was literally probably meant to be just a quick meet and greet, snap a few pictures, shake some hands, kiss some babies, go have some lunch, and sign the agreement. And obviously that's not what happened. All right. Let's hear from Zelensky.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you for invitation. And really, I hope that this first document, will be first step to real security guarantees for Ukraine, our people, our children. I really count on it. And of course, we count that America will not stop support. Really, for us, it's very important to support and to continue it. I want to discuss it with details further during our conversation, and of course the infrastructure or security guarantees, because for today I understand what Europe is ready to do.
All right, that was pretty interesting, and I did not pick up on that originally. And again, I guarantee you nobody that was arguing over the weekend and posting, I stand with Ukraine has any clue about this. But what he just said was, I understand what Europe is ready to do. So I think maybe he's coming into this with a little more of a mindset of negotiation than Trump and Vance think. I think they're thinking he's kind of just coming to beg for more money, but maybe he already has a deal on the table from Europe. And so actually, to be honest with you, what ended up happening, the press conference went so bad. And then on Saturday and Sunday, he was in Europe. Zelensky was in Europe. He met with Prince Charles. He met with Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of England now, and then Germany and France. And those guys all basically kind of have been kissing his ass. So check it out. I'm kind of just thinking this out loud. Maybe Zelensky's a little shrewder than definitely I've given him credit for, and maybe a little shrewder than Trump and Vance thought going into that meeting on Friday. And maybe he's like, we do have these rare earth minerals, and so I'm going to sell them to the highest bidder. And maybe that's not the United States. Okay, just think about that as we move through this. Honestly, that just came to me.
And of course, I want to discuss with you what United States will be ready to do. And I really count on your strong position to stop Putin. And you said that enough with the war. I think that is very important, Ben, to say these words to Putin at the very beginning of war, because he is a killer and terrorist. But I hope that...
I wish you guys could see me. I have my iPad open next to me, and I'm trying to listen to this, and I've got the iPad on like a 1 minute, or no, like a 5-second delay, because I want to see the facial expressions while I'm recording. This is actually pretty talented what I'm doing here, if I don't say so myself. Okay, so JD, as soon as he said Putin is a criminal and a terrorist, or a killer and a terrorist, JD Vance and Marco Rubio, slouching Marco Rubio, their energy shifted big time. Same thing with Pete Hegseth. Like, all three of these guys kind of sat up a little bit, and I don't think they liked that he took it in that direction. Okay, let's see what happens. By the way, he said Putin is a killer and a terrorist.
Together we can stop him, but for us it's very important to save our country, our values, our freedom, democracy, and of course, no compromises with the killer.
Oh my God, I really need to start doing video. So when he said killer again, the cameraman, almost as if it was scripted. I'm not saying it was, but I'm telling you, this is what happened. When he said Putin killer, the camera went right to Pete Hegseth. And again, Hegseth, I'm not a fan of his, but he definitely was not a fan of, I think, the direction Zelensky's taking with this. This is funny.
About our territories, but it will be later. And of course, what I wanted, we spoke about it by phone with you, about the drones production. We have very good drones production. I think the best one in the world for today because of the war. Yes, and of course, we need very much the air defense. You have the best air defense in the world, and really you helped us under attacks of Russians. And I want to speak how we can exchange the licenses. We're open to share the licenses of all our drones with you, of course, with the United States. And we need licenses for quick production of air defense. Even after the war, we need our nation to be calm, that we are secured. So that's why we need this air shield. And of course, about this, I want to speak about the contingents. I think that France and UK already spoke to you.
All right. Again, the fact that he went to the UK over the weekend and now he keeps bringing up France and the UK and the contingents, and he said the contingents that the France and UK have already spoken to, he definitely had something up his sleeve. So this is kind of becoming apparent to me that maybe he had talked to like Keir Starmer or Emmanuel Macron, England and France respectively, prior to this. Maybe they had something worked out. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but that's interesting.
We know that Europe is ready, but without the United States, they will not be ready to be as strong as we need. And the last point, last not least, about exchange, about our people and children. And you know that this crazy Russian, that they stolen 20,000 of children, Ukrainian children. They changed their names, they changed their families, relatives, and now they're in Russia. We want to bring them back, and really, it's a big dream, task, and goal for me, and our warriors. By the way, Mr. President, we released more than 4,000 warriors from Russian prison, but there are thousands more in the prison. I wanted to share with you some images. How it's just.
All right, so that was interesting. Little bit of a change in Trump's demeanor right now, and we're at like the 6-minute mark. And so Zelensky said that, and by the way, I've never heard this before. I've never heard him talk about how Russia stole 20,000 of their children and then gave them to other families. I had not heard that before. And it looks like now he's brought a bunch of pictures to show Trump. So anyway, I think this is the beginning of maybe this kind of getting a little zesty.
Yes, can I now?
Yeah, please.
1 minute. I just you to understand in what circumstances, in what situation they are, and what the attitude of Russia to our prisoners. That guys, just you before and after. And you see before and after, just you to understand. Now thousands of such guys, ladies and men, there, and that, so they don't eat, they beat them, and they do a lot of bad things.
All right, I'm going to fast forward this part. So basically what he's doing is he's pulling out these colored 8x10 pictures, and it looks like what he's showing is the Ukrainian prisoners, what they looked like before they went to the Russian prison and then when they got out of the Russian prison. I think this is interesting. I really do. I mean, obviously it's like, dude, who knows if these pictures are real? You guys could have like used AI to make them. You could have photoshopped them. You could have whatever. So it's pretty interesting. It has become very apparent to me that Zelensky, and again, we're not even at the 7-minute mark yet, but he is absolutely, just really in attack mode against Putin. And again, that's fine. I know they're at war, but when you think about, that's not the point of this press conference. This press conference was to kind of shake hands, say we've got this new agreement. It's a 50-50 split on the rare earth materials, and then that's it. Have lunch and call it a day, sign and go. But maybe Zelensky doesn't want to give a 50-50 split. I don't know. So maybe he's like sabotaging it or going to begin to sabotage it on purpose. Again, I'm thinking out loud as we're doing this, and it's really interesting to like have the audio going, and then I've got the video playing on my iPad. So again, facial expressions matter. Like I can see the change in demeanor on JD Vance, on Trump, on not Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, like I said, bro's got terrible posture, and he's just like sitting. He's like just sitting in the chair. But Hegseth, like I noticed their change in demeanor, and again their change in body posture.
So out of even during the war there are rules. Everybody knows there are rules during the war. So these guys, they don't have any rules. You see that 50, 60 kilograms left. And
again, just start paying attention to the way Zelensky's talking. He's like, there are rules in war, but these guys don't follow any rules. Now, again, I just want to make sure you understand this. To badmouth Russia is fine, but again, that wasn't the point of this press conference. So the fact that he's doing it, again, it's not the right venue for that.
A lot of such things. And I didn't want to show you what the changes with images of children, because I will share with you. And, I mean, it's looking tragic.
Yep, it's tough stuff.
I wanted very much to give you, and you see it.
Yeah.
This is pastor, by the way, the stolen pastors.
Okay, now he's showing them pictures of pastors, and he's saying they've stolen pastors. Now, this is interesting, and we're not going to talk about this today, but one of the things Zelensky is incredibly criticized about is how he pretty much has tried to ruin or destroy the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and that is a Christian church in Ukraine. So the fact that he's bringing up this pastor thing, I actually think he's kind of covering his ass, because again, in another episode, I will play things for you from Ukrainian Orthodox Christian pastors who basically are like, this guy is killing us. He's trying to get rid of the Orthodox Christian church in Ukraine. So that's interesting.
Because it's not Russian church. They stolen pastors and moved pastors to the prison. We, at the end of last year, we brought 3 pastors, and we could exchange them. And this is pastor, you see.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, so I mean, this I wanted to show you, and this. So thank you very much.
We want to get that ended, right?
Yeah, of course we will.
I think we will. And
we have to, of course.
All right. So again, we're at like the 7-minute mark. And obviously, Trump was like, yeah, that's terrible. Those pictures are awful, man. Well, we've got to end this. And, I think we will. So again, at this point, very, very upbeat. And you can tell, Trump knows the assignment of this press conference. And that is just to let everybody know, okay, things are going to come to an end and we're getting 50% of those raw earth minerals. All right. So now he's going to take questions from the audience.
do you have any questions, please?
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the, how much money is the U.S. going to put into the fund that is being created today, and how does this provide long-term security for Ukraine?
Well, we don't know exactly how much, because we're going to be putting some money in a fund that we're going to get from the raw earth that we're going to be taking and sharing in terms of revenue. So it's going to be a lot of money will be made from the sale and from the use of raw earth. And as you know, our country doesn't have much raw earth. We have a lot of oil and gas, but we don't have a lot of the raw earth. And what we do have is protected by the environmentalists, but that can be unprotected. But still, it's not very much. They have among the best in the world in terms of raw earth. So we're going to be using that, using it for all of the things we do, including AI, and including weapons and the military, and it's really going to very much satisfy our needs. So something that just worked out really well. We have a lot of oil, we have a lot of gas, we have a lot, but we don't have raw earth. So this has just about every component of the raw earth that we need for computers, for all of the things we do.
All right, damn, I just had an epiphany. So I've been trying to figure out why the hell is Elon Musk so involved in everything all of a sudden. And again, I'm not going to go into this too much, but so what he just said in these raw earth minerals, one of the biggest ones is lithium. And lithium is the most important component of electric vehicles. And also, I think, for AI. So if you think about it with Elon, obviously Tesla, and then he's making a huge push into AI, even though he's competing with ChatGPT and all that. I don't know. I feel like maybe that's something. We've got to think it through more. But that I don't know, man. That was like a little bit of an epiphany to me while I was listening, where he's like, we need all these minerals for, blah, 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 and AI. And again, think about it. Tesla needs that.
This puts us in great shape.
And the long-term security for Ukraine. How is this provided?
I think they're going to have Great luck. I think once we make the agreement, that's going to be 95% of it. They're not going to go back to fighting. I've spoken with President Putin, and I feel very strong. I've known him for a long time, and I feel very strongly that they're very serious about it, and we'll make a deal. And when the deal is made, I don't think we talk about security. Everyone's talking about the other day. All they talked about was security. I said, let me make the deal first. I have to make the deal first. I don't worry about security right now. We have to have a deal because right now, last week, 2,000 soldiers died on both sides. 2,000, and they're losing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 a week. So as we sit here and we talk, people are getting shot and dying on the battlefield. And, they're not American soldiers, but they're Russian soldiers and they're Ukrainian soldiers, and we want to be able to stop it. And we want to be able also to spend money on other things. We don't want to. This is a tremendous amount of money. And what the Biden administration did was terrible. They were giving money, but he had no security on the money. Europe, as you know, gave much less money, but they had security. It was in the form of a loan. They get their money back, and we didn't. And now, at least we're protected because the American taxpayer has to be protected, too. But this is an incredible agreement for Ukraine.
All right. So to recap that, as soon as he started going into the deal, and then as soon as he brought up Europe put in money, but we put in a lot more, they did it as a loan, we're not getting paid back. All right. Now I'm seeing a crazy shift in Zelensky's energy. Like he kind of rolled his eyes and kind of rolled his neck. So when Trump starts to talk about it being a deal, and when Trump definitely brings up Europe and positions it as, hey, we've contributed more than Europe has, that's when you're seeing, or that's when I'm noticing the change in, body chemistry or body composition, or what the hell am I looking for? I'm not saying it properly, but that's when I'm noticing a shift in Zelensky's posture. And again, like I said, he kind of rolled his neck and rolled his eyes a little.
Because we have a big investment in their country now, and what they have, very few people have. And we're able to really go forward with very, very high-tech things and many other things, including weaponry that we're going to use in many locations, but that we need for our country.
Mr. President.
All right. That was the first question. They're going to do a couple more questions. I might listen to them and then maybe delete some. I will tell you something funny. NBC's Caitlin Collins, you guys probably know who she is. I can't stand her. I think she's terrible. And she's been so combative and really just rude to Trump on the campaign trail and all that. I'm sorry. That's just the truth. But she is trying to ask a question, and I don't know if they're purposely not. Actually, of course, they're purposely not calling her, but it is interesting. I mean, you can hear her voice clearly, Mr. President, Mr. President. And she's definitely getting no love. That's funny. They're kind of icing her out.
This allows us to do this.
But Mr. President,
will you continue?
Sorry,
This is her.
but Mr. President,
Will you sending military aid?
Yes, go ahead, please.
if I can just yes. In the document, there is one of the very important points if we speak about business and investment. We never had LNG terminals in Ukraine. This document will open. I mean, the next document, but anyway, here we see in the framework, we see a really good will for this. LNG terminals for us is very important, and I think for security of European continent. We have the biggest storage, gas storage. We have the biggest in Europe. Yes, and we can use it. Use it for LNG. Use it for LNG, and we will do it. And really, we can help Europe because Europe really helped. President Trump said that they made less support, but they have our friends and they are our very supportive partners. They really gave a lot, Mr. President.
All right, I wanted to play that part. And in summary, Zelensky's talking all about how much liquefied natural gas they have. And they do, by the way. Ukraine is incredibly rich in liquefied natural gas. That was part of the whole, Nord Stream pipeline situation and all that. But again, Zelensky keeps on driving home. Europe is our friends. Europe has been very supportive. I know President Trump said they gave less, but Europe is really helping. So he's really driving almost in a antagonistic way. Honestly, like if you could see just the change in energy from, especially, I'll be honest with you, it's more JD Vance than anything, because the camera's kind of capturing him more than it is anyone else besides Trump and Zelensky.
Yeah, really, they did.
They gave a lot, but they gave much less.
No.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. Zelensky goes, but they really gave a lot. Trump goes, but they gave much less. And then Zelensky goes, nope.
Mr. President. Yeah, really, they did.
They gave a lot, but they gave much less.
No.
Much less.
No. No.
Don't argue.
No.
Okay.
All right, that was funny. Everybody was kind of laughing, and it was hard to hear. But again, you've got Trump saying they gave much less, and you've got Zelensky, no. And then under his breath, well, not really under his breath. I don't think Trump does anything under his breath. But he did say, don't argue with me. Again, it was in a joking way. It wasn't being mean. But all right, we're at the 11-minute mark. I might delete some of the next set of interviews because I want to get to the zesty part.
Okay.
But Mr. President, Mr. President,
Putin and President Zelensky.
Yeah, please.
Mr. President Trump, you have repeatedly called the deal with Ukraine as a historical one. And as a president of the United States, you make historical decisions in other issues which affect America and other world. So what place in the world history do you want to take? And do you associate yourself with any famous historical figures?
Yeah, I'd say George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. I would say I'm far superior to George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. Now, you know I'm only kidding, right? Because when I say that, the fake news is going to go wild. They're going to say he considers himself to be better than Washington. But you never know. You never know. I don't compare myself to anybody. I'm here to do a job. We've had a great 35 days or whatever it might be, a month, a little more than a month. We've accomplished tremendous amounts. Not only this would be a very great achievement if we could get the war stopped and get them back to normalization. I think that's going to happen. We've had very good talks on both sides, as you know. But I think we've done a very good job, just generally. If you look at all of the things we've done in 30 days, they're saying there's never been a opening for a president. The first month, there's never been a first month like we've had. And this is one of the very important things. This, to me, is one of the most important things because we have tremendous death taking place as we speak. And I don't want to have that. You know, think of the parents. Think of whether they're in Russia or Ukraine. Think of the parents of all these people being killed.
All right, I let that play because, I mean, I thought the Trump jokes were a little bit funny. And again, so right now everything is calm and chill. I did like that point he made. He's like, you know, these soldiers are getting killed, and think about all the parents of these people getting killed. I mean, seriously, that is a really good point, man. Think about the parents of these 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old Ukrainian soldiers and the Russian ones. I mean, remember, the death toll right now in Ukraine is rumored to be over 800,000 people. And unlike in Gaza, where that death toll, let's say it's 45,000, it's probably 45,000 women and children for the most part. I don't even think any Hamas has died. They lie about that shit. But in Ukraine, if it's 800,000, that probably is the military number. So that's their soldiers. And again, it doesn't make it any better that they're soldiers dying and not innocent women and children.
Needlessly.
They came to our territory.
Should have never started.
All right, again, that's a key point. Trump said needlessly, and then Zelensky goes, they came to our territory. And then Trump again says, this should have never started.
Needlessly.
They came to our territory.
Should have never started.
All right, you know what? This is a good time where I do want to give you guys a little bit more of the backstory. Now, I know we've talked the backstory of this war many times. And if you got a chance to listen to the interview with Christine Lin on Friday, I mean, it was a good one. I totally know she was kind of, slanted on the Russian side, but you know what? That's her opinion. I got a lot of feedback over the weekend where people were like, hey, I really enjoyed this, but man, she really is slanted toward Russian. So like, I don't know, is this really true? And again, like I'm saying, I mean, that is her opinion. So again, slant or not, she was speaking her truth. But I did want to give you guys, because even after interviewing her and looking at other stuff, things started to crystallize for me a little bit. And, basically, you really can't fairly judge this press conference without understanding the backstory of this conflict. So let me take you through this. So it starts in 1994 with something called the Budapest Memorandum. And this was the end of the Cold War between Russia and the United States. And it was basically where the United States, UK, and NATO convinced Ukraine to give up their nuclear weapons in exchange for security assurances. Now, Russia was involved in that as well, but remember, Ukraine had nuclear weapons. How crazy is that? But these guys, especially United States, UK, and NATO, they convinced Ukraine to give up the nuclear weapons in exchange for security assurances. I am sure every Ukrainian leader and person to this day regrets that, because if they had hung on to their nuclear weapons, nuclear weapons that's the equalizer. If you have nuclear weapons, you can only be pushed so far as a country before you have the ability to strike back, even if you're a smaller country. Like, look at North Korea right now. Okay, so that was in 1994. Now, fast forward to 2014. This is when Ukraine, I've talked about this before, but I'm going to cement it in again. But the democratically elected president, Viktor Yanukovych, was overthrown in a U.S.-backed coup. Okay, remember that. And that's the truth. This stuff is all available. You can look it up yourself, but obviously take my word for it, because I'm shooting it straight to you. So Yanukovych was overthrown in that coup. Then in 2021, Putin made the direct request for NATO to put in writing that Ukraine would not be allowed in. And I think I played you guys that clip from that comedian Dave Smith, the libertarian, where he talked about that. And I forget the guy's name. It's like Jan Stottlemyre or something, where Dave Smith said, Putin in 2021 said, just put this in writing that you're not going to allow Ukraine into NATO. And that guy laughed at him and he said, we're absolutely not going to put that in writing. And I think Dave Smith was like, hey, that's not an unreasonable request. And even if you think Putin's a madman and a killer and a whatever, okay, fine, I'll agree with you on all that. But that was not an unreasonable request to simply put that in writing when quite frankly, NATO said it, but they just wouldn't put it in writing. So again, that's another very important point, because that happened in 2021. And then again, the war started in 2022. Now, these are the additional thoughts. And again, I forget if I talked about this on Thursday or not, but let's connect some dots a little bit. So here's some additional food for thought. Zelenskyy won by running on a peace platform. This is actually true. Again, you can look all this stuff up for yourself if you want. But Zelenskyy won by running on a peace platform and promising to end conflicts with Russia. When Biden took office, the U.S. wound down its war in Afghanistan because, quite frankly, there was nothing left in Afghanistan to pillage. I mean, Afghanistan, remember, that was the 20-year war, and they basically bled that country dry of their opium and their oil and probably every other natural resource. And so they wound that down, that 20-year forever war kind of came to an end. And if you remember, they withdrew so haphazardly and there was all that, criticism toward that. So now think about it and connect these dots. So the military-industrial complex, the good old military-industrial complex that we've talked about a million times, it basically, after coming out of Afghanistan, it needed a new battleground in order to launder its money or do whatever it does. And so Biden sent Boris Johnson, the former prime minister of England, and again, look this all up, it's all true. He sent Boris Johnson to Ukraine, and he pushed Zelensky to shut down the peace talks basically with Russia. And he said that, hey, we're going to bring you into NATO, but you've got to stop those peace talks with Russia. All right, so basically Zelensky agreed with that. The money started flowing. And so now, again, here we are 3 years later, and collectively between the United States and Europe, the U.S. supposedly has contributed $200 billion, Europe $150 or $175 billion. So you've got $350 to $375 billion that Zelensky's received for this. And again, this is that whole NATO expansion and the fact that Boris Johnson and Biden convinced Zelensky to stop his peace talks, which he was doing with Russia, in order to be allowed into, NATO and this whole NATO expansion to really the entire border of Russia. That kind of pushed Putin to invade, and he did. I think he got to a point where he's like, okay, this is it. I've given you guys my red line 100 times, and you are now about to cross it, so I'm going to invade. All right, I mean, you really need that background and that history. And again, I'll sum it all up with, in my mind, Ukraine became Afghanistan 2.0. So 20 years in Afghanistan ends in 2021, and we go right into Ukraine in the February of 2022. Interesting. All right, let's get back to this.
This would have, if I were president, this would have never started.
Mr. President Trump.
You can totally hear Caitlin Collins, and she does not get to ask a question. This is funny. Okay, all right, let's play this question. This is actually an interesting question.
Sending military aid to Ukraine after the U.S. signs this agreement with Ukraine?
Yeah, we're going to be continuing.
President Zelensky, do you feel like the U.S. is on your side, that President Trump is on your side at this moment?
What do you think?
He wants to know, do you think that, sort of a stupid question.
I mean, again, appropriate by Trump, no, but funny, yes. He's like, it's sort of a stupid question.
He wants to know, do you think that, sort of a stupid question. I guess we wouldn't be here if I wasn't.
I think that the United States on our side from the very beginning of occupation. And I think that President Trump on our side, and of course, I'm sure that the United States President will not stop support. This is crucial for us. It's important for us. Yes. And Putin, the president, speaks about the people and the soldiers which are dying, but they came to our territory. They came to our land. They began this war, and they have to stop.
All right, so you know what's sad? So again, he's hammering home, like Zelensky, that is. He's like, they came to our territory, they started it. What's sad is, what I gave you guys, that little background going all the way back to 1994 in the Budapest Memorandum, none of these guys probably even know all that stuff. I'm not even kidding. I don't think Trump knows it that far back. I don't think JD Vance knows it that far back. Marco Rubio definitely doesn't know it that far back. Hegseth definitely doesn't know it that far back. But how crazy is it that a random Eric Estrada looking podcaster basically knows that information going back to the Budapest Memorandum and then also the Viktor Yanukovych thing. And even if these guys know it, none of them are bringing it up and none of them are checking Zelensky to say, hey, there's a lot more to this. This war did not start in February 2022. That's pretty insane that these guys are not calling that out and connecting those dots.
And I think this is the question, was really the most important question. Can President Trump, I hope yes, with some other allies, to stop Putin, withdraw these enemies, our enemy, withdraw these troops from our land? And I think that you asked about the history.
All right, last part on this. He said, you asked about the history. Nobody did. I mean, I wish one of the reporters would have brought up, hey, in 2014, America led a coup that removed Viktor Yanukovych, your democratically elected president, and installed Petro Poroshenko, who was a, Western puppet, and Zelensky himself is a Western puppet. So anyway, that is really insane that like even the press, like you've got all this press in the room and none of them brought anything about the history of it up. Because again, just like the Gaza war did not start October 7th, this did not start February 22nd, 2023.
I think that if President or when he will stop Putin, if President Trump will bring peace to our country, I think he will be on this wall.
We've had very, very good talks.
Mr. President,
President Zelensky just said that there'll be no compromises with Vladimir Putin. I just wanted to ask both of you. Firstly, are there compromises that you think that President Zelensky is going to have to make? And President Zelensky, is there anything that you think that you may be able to offer or bring to the table? For example, elections. Thank you.
I think you're going to have to always make compromises. You can't do any deals without compromises. So certainly he's going to have to make some compromises, but hopefully they won't be as big as some people think you're going to have to make. That's all. It's all we can do. I'm here as an arbitrator, as a mediator to a certain extent between two parties that have been very hostile, to put it mildly. They've been very hostile. There's been a vicious war. There's been a vicious war. It's a very level battlefield, and those bullets go out, and as I've said many times, we were talking about it with Pete, many times the only thing stopping those bullets is a human body. And in the case we're talking about, generally young human bodies are stopping a lot of bullets. It's dead level. That's why it's great farmland. It's great land. It's great farmland, but there's very little protection.
I'm sorry. Trump is kind of hilarious to me. That first part was amazing. He's like, we've got to stop the killing. There's all these bullets flying. The only thing stopping them are human bodies. And then he's like, it's very level. And he's like, it's great farmland. It's really nice farmland.
Against the bullets that are being, and other things that are being shot. So all I can do is see if I can get everybody at the table and get an agreement. And I think we're going to end up with an agreement. Otherwise, I wouldn't probably be even here today.
Will President Putin have to make compromises?
Mr. President, I've got two questions for you. You think ultimately your legacy will be the peacemaker and not the president that led this country into another war and ended foreign wars? And I've got a question.
I hope it will. I mean, I hope I'm going to be remembered as a peacemaker. This would be a great thing if we could do this. I'm doing this to save lives more than anything else. Second is to save a lot of money, but I consider that to be far less important. So I hope I'm going to thank you, Brian, for that question. It was a nice question. I hope I'll be known and recognized as a peacemaker. This would be a great thing to solve. This is a very dangerous situation. This could lead to a third world war. This was headed in the wrong direction. If this election were lost, if we didn't win this election, and by the way, we won it by a lot. That was a mandate. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. We won everything.
All right, two quick points. Again, dude is hilarious to me. He always he's a revisionist historian. He's like, this election, we won it by a lot. We won all those votes. Anyway, that shit is funny to me. But the point he makes about would this have gone to World War III? I mean, I don't know. But what I will say is what I talked about earlier in that in the entire 2.5 years or 3 years of this war, the fact that the Biden administration did not have one conversation with the Russians, with Putin, with Sergei Lavrov. That guy had an interview with Tucker Carlson. Sergei Lavrov, I think, is the Secretary of Defense. And he said that to Tucker. He's like, literally the day after the war started, we've never heard from Putin, from Biden or Antony Blinken ever since. So that's not good, man. That's not good. Like, seriously, I talked about that earlier, but I did want to drive that point home. All right, let's see.
The districts, you look at the areas of red, take a look at a map. This was a big mandate. And This was one of the things I said, we're going to get this thing settled. If we didn't win, I think this could have very well ended up in a third world war, and that would not have been a good situation. What was your second question?
All right, now we're going to get into the zesty stuff. So I don't know who this guy is, but so this second question is directed towards Zelensky, and you probably saw this on social media if you were kind of following this story. His question is directed towards Zelensky.
My second question for President Zelensky. Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah, problem.
All right, a lot of people thought that was petty, but you know what? I'm sorry. I agree with them. Wear a suit, man. You're in the White House. You're representing your country. You've spent $200 billion of my taxpayer money. You can put on a suit. And by the way, here's the other thing. Go back and look at any interview that Zelensky did in the United States during Trump's first term from 2016 to 2020. Well, really, it would have been like 2019 and 2020 or 2018, 2019. He was always wearing a black suit. As soon as this war started, he took on this military persona. And again, this is where I think this stuff is BS. I really do. And all of a sudden, Zelensky shows up in front of Congress at the White House. He's wearing his green Henley sweatshirt that's got like what looks like a Maserati logo on it. Maybe that's like the Ukrainian badge or something, and combat boots, and he's in fatigues, and he's always trying to look the part. But again, I mean, I don't believe in that, or definitely not for this meeting, because this meeting was about signing this agreement. So yeah, put on a suit, show some respect. Same thing for John Fetterman. I've talked about this a million times, I think, or not a million, a couple times. John Fetterman, that's ridiculous, man. Put on a suit. You are a senator. You should not be allowed to wear a hoodie and shorts and lose some weight. All right, that might have been a little bit harsh, but put on a suit.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not respecting.
I don't have such. I will wear a costume after this war will finish. Okay. Yes, maybe something like yours. Yes, maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper than. Yeah. Thank you.
President Trump, you said yesterday. Thank you, President Trump. You said yesterday that you have.
Oh my God, I thought Caitlin Collins was going to get her chance, but she just got trumped, pun intended.
Going to send more arms to Ukraine in case there's no peace.
Yeah, we're going to have arms to Ukraine, yeah, sure. Hopefully I won't have to send very much, because hopefully we're going to have it finished. We're looking forward to finishing this quickly. We're not looking forward to sending a lot of arms. We're looking forward to getting the war finished so we can do other things. But we very much appreciate the agreement, because we needed what they had, and we're treating, our country is now treated fairly. Biden didn't do that. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. This should have never happened. This should have never started. But, sure, the answer is yes, but hopefully we won't have to send much, because I'm looking forward to getting it done quickly, very quickly.
Does that mean you'll provide security guarantees, Mr. President?
All right, Caitlin Collins, finally from NBC, she got to ask her question, and that it was in regards to security guarantees. Let's hear his answer. I'm curious if he gets like snooty with her.
I don't want to talk about security yet, because I want to get the deal done. You fall into the same trap like everybody else. A million times you say it over and over. I want to get the deal done. Security is so easy. That's about 2% of the problem. I'm not worried about security. I'm worried about getting the deal done. The security is the easy part. Security is very nice. Everybody stopped shooting. And now will Europe put people there? I know France is going to. I know the UK is going to. I know other countries are going to, and they happen to be right next door. We haven't committed, but we could conceivably. We have security in a different form. We'll have workers there digging, taking the raw earth so that we can create a lot of great product in this country. So in that sense, you have something, but we haven't determined that yet. I will say, in speaking to France and in speaking to, and they were here, as you know, last week and just the other day, they have committed to a lot of security. I don't think you're going to need much security. I think once this deal gets done, it's over.
All right, so I just noticed something. So Trump's saying once this deal gets done, you're not going to need security. And so Zelensky was shaking his head.
Russia's not going to want to go back, and nobody's going to want to go back.
President Zelensky is shaking his head.
When this deal ends, I really believe this deal.
Oh, that's funny. Caitlin Collins just said the same thing. Her and I make a cute couple. A lot of people tell me that.
Deal is going to be over. Question? Please go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Macron and Keir Starmer at the White House this past week, both of whom praised your courage and conviction to lead the pathway towards peace.
Yes.
Part of that involved, though, re-engaging Russia in diplomatic relations, something that previous leaders lacked the conviction to do so. What gave you the moral courage and conviction to step forward and lead that?
Oh, I love this guy. Who are you with?
One American News, sir.
Well, that's why I like him. One American News does a great job. I like the question. I think it's a very good question. It's a pathway to peace. It's a pathway to getting something solved. And I feel that as the head of this country, I have an obligation to do that. Plus, we're very much involved. We got involved. It's too bad we got involved because there should have been no involvement, because there should have been no war. And there shouldn't have been October 7th. That would have never happened. As you know, Iran was broke. They had no money to give to Hezbollah. They had no money to give to Hamas. They were stone cold broke. And then under Biden, they became rich as hell. They went from no money to $300 billion in a period of 4 years. And they gave a lot of that money away. And you see what happened. And that's a real mess also that we hope to be able to solve.
All right, that was interesting. He brought up October 7th, brought up Iran. I will say the camera was on Marco Rubio and Vance. And again, I mean, I didn't really notice anything, but as soon as he started talking about October 7th and then Hezbollah and Hamas and Iran, the camera panned immediately to those guys. Again, I didn't see anything. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the producers say, okay, go, camera 2, Rubio and Vance.
But no, I appreciate your question very much. I feel I have an obligation to try and do something to stop the death.
Mr. President, if I can answer. Yes, if I can answer.
Please,
sorry. Please.
And I do like your clothing, by the way.
Yeah, really?
Even though I think he's a great guy, by the way. I don't know if you two like each other, but you know what? I think he's dressed.
I like this guy. I don't know.
I think he's dressed beautifully.
So I have more serious things than answer on such questions. I will answer on more serious questions if I can. Yeah. So please about security guarantees.
All right, that was funny. They had a little joke about, hey, Trump was like, I like his wardrobe. I think it looks good. All right, Zelensky, I keep waiting for Zesty. I want Zesty. So now he looks like he is going to go back and readdress Caitlin Collins' security guarantee question. Maybe now we're going to get Zesty.
And about just ceasefire. We can't just speak about ceasefire and speak. It will not work. Just ceasefire will never work, because I'm like a president. I have this experience, and not only me. Ukraine before my presidency, from the 2014, Putin broken 25 times. 25 times he broken his own signature. 25 times he broken ceasefire.
But he never broke to me. He never broke.
No, you were the president. You were the president during.
He never broke to me.
In 2016, you've been the president.
All right, so I think Zesty is coming. So Zelensky's like, Putin broke our ceasefire 25 times. Trump was like, he never broke it with me. Well, he did break it 25 times. Again, honestly, I've researched this a lot. I have never really heard that. So from 2014, when they overthrew Yanukovych, to 2021, I don't even really know if I guess they did have a ceasefire technically, but I had never really heard that he broke it 25 times. And actually, that doesn't make sense because they weren't in war from 2014. Well, maybe they were. Maybe it was like we just weren't seeing it because it wasn't being covered.
Mr. President, you've been the president, but he had, of course, not with you, but he had during those periods, he had conversations with our side. And we had Normandy format, the France, Germany, Ukraine, and Russia. And he broken 25 times. That's why we will never accept just ceasefire. It will not work without security guarantees. Security guarantees, maybe President is right about this document and other, but this document is not enough. Strong army is enough because his soldiers afraid, Putin's soldiers afraid of our soldiers when we're strong enough. If we are not strong enough, if we are empty, if our storage is empty, we can't defend our land. Today, he knows that we have, all the world knows that we have meeting, yes? Why he's using ballistic? Putin today using ballistic on our hospitals, schools, and etc. Ballistic. So he knows that we are here and that President Trump is really have goodwill to stop this war. And you hear now the president. So why he's using? So he doesn't want to stop. He doesn't want. But I hope that we will do it. Really, we'll do it. Security. When we speak about security guarantees, when the Europeans are ready for contingents, they need USA backstop.
All right, again, I do find it interesting. He keeps on saying the Europeans are ready with security guarantees and contingencies. We need USA for the backstop. So, again, I don't have this part all figured out, but like I said, I do see a theme of him bringing up Europe a lot.
If there will not be United States, we will not never have any contingents, strong contingents from the Europeans, because they don't want to divide alliance, connection between the United States as the main and strongest ally and Europeans. And this is crucial, this is important. That's what we want to speak about very much. This is very important. And air defense. So air defense, really, we have big deficit with all these systems, and we need to provide this. We need it very much. Otherwise, Putin will never stop, and will go further and further. He doesn't want. He hates us. It's not about me. He hates Ukrainians. He thinks that we are not a nation.
All right. So he said Putin hates Ukrainians. I know that is not true, and I know that because I've talked to Russians and I've talked to Ukrainians, and I will say the one thing they agree on is that Putin does not hate Ukrainians. I'll tell you what he does, though. He thinks Ukrainians are Russians. So he thinks fundamentally Ukraine is really always has been and should be part of Russia. Really no different than the way China thinks about Taiwan. They think Taiwan should be a part of Russia. But again, based on my conversations with, honestly, like a decent amount of Russian and Ukrainian people that I know and that I've met online. I have some conversation with people that I've never met in real life, but I've meet them through Instagram primarily. I will say, I don't think there's hate there. Again, I think there's a lot of nationalism and nationalistic pride. And like I said, I think for Putin, Ukraine is part of the Russian, legacy, just like Taiwan is part of the Chinese legacy for Xi Jinping.
He thinks, and he shares these thoughts, I think maybe with your team also, I don't know. But with all the Europeans, in media, official and not, he always said that there is no such country, such nation, such language, and such life like Ukrainian. No, he really doesn't respect all the Ukrainians, and he wants to destroy us. And you are right, Mr. President, that's 2%. This document, maybe other documents, it's a very good start, very good, but it will not enough to stop this person.
All right. So again, he's saying basically Putin hates Ukrainians. I really don't agree with that based on everything, like I said, that I've researched myself. But the other thing I just kind of have realized is, I think for Trump, this is like the final agreement. This is like, okay, sign this, give us 50% of your raw earth materials, and I'll call Putin and the war will be over. Whereas Zelensky, he keeps on saying, this is a great start. This is great for agreement number one, but we're going to need more. I don't know. I give Zelensky credit. He's more savvy than I thought. And I mean, at least today, he's pretty savvy right now.
Should Russia pay to rebuild Ukraine?
Mr. President, under these...
Should Russia pay to rebuild Ukraine?
They have to pay. This is the rule. This is the rule of the war. This is the rule of the war. During all the centuries, all the history, this is the rule of the war. Who began, those pay.
Do you agree,
This is the rule. Putin began this war. He has to pay all money for innovation. He has to pay. Of course, some Russian assets, what we have in Europe, about 300 billion, we can use them. We can use for innovation and buy military support from the United States also. We can do it, but it's not enough.
All right. So he said a couple interesting things there. First, he said Putin started it, so he has to pay. Supposedly, there's 300 billion in frozen Russian assets in Europe that Europe is controlling. I don't know if that's in France or England or Germany or a combination thereof. So he's saying, hey, that's a good start. Give us that 300 billion, and then Russia's got to pay. I don't know, man. I don't know what the rule is, if there's a rule with that. But again, Zelensky's being pretty shrewd here. All right, let me see if the next question's any good, or maybe I'll try to jump forward.
1 second.
I asked this question that you didn't like because I wanted to know if you want to position yourself in the middle between Russia and Ukraine, or on the Ukraine side.
I'm in the middle. I want to solve this thing. I'm for both. I want to get it solved. And it's wonderful to speak badly about somebody else, but I want to get it solved. If we can solve it, great. If we can't solve it, they're going to have to fight it out, and who knows what's going to happen. But I want to see it get solved.
Again, I will say this is interesting. Every time Trump talks about solving the war and bringing it to an end, Zelensky's body language changes. That's what I was looking for, body language. His body language changes almost. I mean, I'm being serious. If you watch it, you'll notice what I'm saying. Almost like he doesn't want this war to end, you know? He's kind of like Netanyahu. Netanyahu doesn't want that war to end because he will basically, hopefully, get put in The Hague for war crimes. But I don't know. Maybe Zelensky doesn't want this war to end, and he wants to keep that gravy train going.
May I follow up? One more question about U.S. troops in Europe. After Russian invasion of Ukraine, your predecessor sent additional troops to Eastern Europe, including Poland, my country. Are you committed to keeping these troops on the eastern flank of NATO in the future?
I'm very committed to Poland. I think Poland has really stepped up and done a great job for NATO. As you know, they paid more than they had to. They are one of the finest groups of people I've ever known. I'm very committed to Poland.
What about Baltics?
Poland's in a tough neighborhood, you know.
What about the Baltics?
The Baltics, they got a lot of. It's a tough neighborhood too, but we're committed. We're going to be very committed, and we're committed to NATO. But NATO has to step up, and the Europeans have to step up more than they have. And I want to see them equalize because they are in for far less than we're in, and they should be at least equal. You understand that? Why is the United States, we have an ocean in between, why is the United States in for so much more money and other things as Europe? With that being said, and as you said, they've also been obviously very helpful. But we have put in far more than they have. And I think they should equalize.
Mr. President,
please go ahead.
Ask about the agreement again today. What changed between the first time that Secretary Vance gave President Zelensky the agreement and today for the signing?
We made a deal. So
what was the deciding factor?
I'm a business person. We made a deal. That's what changed.
A lot of those minerals.
I didn't think we were going to make a deal, and we ended up making the deal. So that changed.
I mean, Trump is all about the deal. He really is. Bro wrote a book, The Art of the Deal. I think that was the name of his book. Again, I mean, you decide if that's good or bad, but he absolutely is all about the deal. And I think that's come through during this press conference.
Mr. President, when and how do you envision a trilateral summit with President Zelensky and Putin?
I don't know, but they don't like each other. I can tell you that. Okay? They do not like each other. This is not a love match. And it's unfortunate. That's why you're in this situation. The United States should not have allowed this to happen. Okay? The United States, run by a man that didn't know much, I'm going to be very nice, run by an incompetent person, very incompetent person, should never have allowed this to happen. I've stopped wars. I've stopped many wars. My people will tell you, I stopped wars that nobody ever heard about. I stopped wars before they ever started. You can look at some of, I could give you a lot of nations that would tell you right now they were probably going to war. I could tell you right now there's a nation thinking about going to war on something that nobody in this room has ever even heard about. two smaller nations, but big, still big. And I think I've stopped it. But this should have never happened.
Mr. President,
Sorry, just a second. About any negotiations. First of all, I want really to tell you, and I think that everybody understands that Ukraine, modern Ukrainians, nobody wants to stop this war. But at the future, any negotiations, it's understandable that two sides of the war, not Russia and the United States, because this is not the war between Russia and the United States. This is war of Russia against Ukraine and Ukrainian people. So,
all right, I'm going to have to call BS on that. This is not a war of Russia against Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. And the United States is totally involved in this. You know why? Because we foot the bill. Bro, we foot the bill. $200 billion from us. Europe is involved in it. $150 billion from them. The only way that's fair for Zelensky to say that is if they had paid for it themselves, and they didn't. They didn't have any money. So that's not appropriate for him to say this is our war, because it's not. Because we're the ones, along with Europe, that paid for it.
These two sides will be at the will be at the negotiation table. Then, of course, United States, like the strongest partner of the Ukraine, and of course Europe. I think Europe is very important. I want to speak about it with the president. Yes, Europe is very important for us because we really defend Europe for today. All Europeans really recognize that we are defending the line, and they have real life, and our people are dying. That's why they helped us. And also, it's about the NATO. Yes, between, like the president said, you have big, nice ocean. Yes, between us. But if we will not stay, Russia will go further to Baltics and to Poland, by the way. But first to the Baltics. It's understandable for them because they've been in the USSR. You know, they've been one of the republics of the USSR, and Putin wants to bring them back to his empire. It's a fact. And when he will go there, if we will not stay, you will fight. Your American soldiers, it doesn't matter, do you have ocean or not, your soldiers will fight.
All right, you know, Zelensky said this before where he's like, American soldiers are going to need to fight. I mean, that's where the rubber's going to meet the road with the public. And honestly, like all the people that over the weekend put up I Stand With Ukraine onto their Facebook, I guess the question I'd ask you is, how much? How much do you stand with Ukraine? Are you willing to send your 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 21-year-old son? A lot of my friends put that up over the weekend on their profile. And I'll be honest, you know, I don't really want to engage in that stuff I'll engage when I post it initially, but I'm not going to like troll and comment on friends' stuff. Maybe I will, actually. I probably should start doing that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not, actually. Maybe I will. Anyway, the ones over the weekend that did it, you know, that's the question. And like, there's a few people I'm thinking about in particular. Obviously, I'm not going to say their name, but I know they have, you know, late teen, early 20s sons. And so, like, are you willing to send your son to war? That, to me, is the question.
Mr. President, would you be willing to visit Ukraine, maybe Kyiv or Odessa, which is going to be at the riviera of the Black Sea?
It was my question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to talk about Odessa now. Let's not talk about Odessa. I want to talk about making a deal, getting peace. We don't have to talk about Odessa, but a lot of cities have been destroyed. There are a lot of cities that are not recognizable. There's not a building standing.
No.
And a lot of things have
Mr. President, you have to come and to look. No. We have very good cities. Yes, a lot of things have been destroyed, but mostly cities alive, and people work, and children go to school. Sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes closer to front line, children have to go to underground schools or online, but we live. Ukraine is fighting, and Ukraine lives. This is very important. And maybe it's Putin is sharing this information that he destroyed us. He lost 700,000 people. 700,000 soldiers. He lost everything. Yes.
Mr. President,
one more.
On the minerals deal.
Mr. President, When did you last speak with President Putin, and what did he say that
A couple of days ago.
And what did he tell you that gave you the assurance that he wanted peace?
Well, that's what I do. My whole life is deals. I know pretty good. And I've known him for a long time. I've dealt with him for a long time. He had to suffer through the Russia hoax. You know, Russia was a hoax. It was all Biden. It was nothing to do with him.
By the way, I absolutely will deep dive into that Russia hoax because it really was a hoax. It really was. And not even so much Biden. It was Hillary Clinton, man. She was the queen pin of that. That's a fact, brothers. That's a fact, brothers and sisters. That's a fact.
So he had to suffer through that, and he was able to do that. I think that he wants to make a deal, and he'd like to see it end. That's all I do. That's what I do. My whole life, that's what I do is make deals. I'm in the middle of a mess because this is a real mess. It's a very dangerous one. If this doesn't get solved now, it's not going to get solved for a long time. So I hope we're going to get it solved. In the back, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Prime Minister Starmer claimed repeatedly that his government believes in free speech and was not engaged in censorship. But his country's government arrests people for memes and thought crimes, and even more worrisome is pressuring American companies to censor Americans on its behalf. How can he be a reliable, trustworthy partner when he says things that are demonstrably false on such an important topic?
All right, this is a total topic shift, but interesting question. So in England right now, if you guys haven't heard about this, they are like crazy. Same thing in Germany. People are getting arrested for what they're posting online. They're getting arrested for like the memes they put out. Man, if I lived in England, I'd be in like life in prison by now with some of the memes I post. Seriously. But like, how crazy is that people are getting arrested in England and Germany, two supposed quote unquote democratic nations, for the things that they're posting online? All right, interesting question. I'm curious to see what Trump says and where he's going with this.
Well, we actually spoke to him about that yesterday, and we thought they took it very, very much too far. JD was very strong on it. So was I. So was Marco, and we've been speaking to him about it. Marco, would you like to say something about it?
Oh man, little Marco Rubio, he's getting his day in the sun. He sat up real prim and proper, and let's see what he says. So again, this is really what's happening. And by the way, JD Vance last week, I didn't talk about it at all, but he was in Europe and he kind of read them the riot act in a variety of things. Honestly, I haven't listened to the whole thing. I'll try to listen to it. Maybe I'll play it. But again, this free speech thing, this is pretty crazy for England and Germany to be arresting people for what they're saying online. Obviously, I hope you don't agree with that because I don't agree with that.
We have concerns, obviously, with the conduct of those, particularly as it impacts Americans. And there's real concern that American speech, which is online, could fall into the hands of British or any country's jurisdiction. And so this is a point the Vice President made at Munich, and I think it's a very compelling one, that what unites us with Europe as much as anything else is these shared values, and one of them being free speech. And so if Americans are threatened by it, we're going to need to take action in that regard.
JD?
All right, so now it looks like it's JD Vance's turn to chime in. Let's see what he says.
It's actually a very important question.
We spoke about this in detail with the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, and others at lunch yesterday. And I know that Secretary of Commerce Lutnick followed up in private meetings last night. This is really important. We believe Americans have the right to speak their mind, even if we in this room disagree with them. They have the right to speak their mind in the public square, which is often online these days. And we're going to defend that right as it pertains to American companies and American citizens vigorously if we have to. I do think that under the President's leadership, we're going to find common ground with our friends in the UK on this question, but it remains to be seen. The principle that will guide us is we believe in free speech in this country and we'll fight for it for American citizens.
All right. I mean, seriously, I hope we're all on the same page with that. It kind of goes along with the saying, like, you know, I might not like what you say, but I'll defend your right to say it. I think I actually nailed that. I mean, seriously, come on, man. We've got to I want to keep yapping. We got to protect free speech.
You just mentioned that you'd spoken to Vladimir Putin a couple of days ago. Just to be clear, that's a new call not the one that you were
I've
talking
spoken to him on numerous occasions.
Okay. And how was the latest call? What did you discuss? How did it go?
Are you serious with that question?
I am. I'd love to know.
It went well. I think we're going to have a deal.
Let me ask you guys a serious question. Are you mad that Trump has a good relationship with Putin? I mean, honestly, like, does that bother you? It doesn't bother me. These are world leaders, man, with like nuclear codes, nuclear activation codes. So like, I don't mind if they have a good relationship with each other. I mean, again, I don't think either one of these guys are pushovers. Obviously, I don't think Trump's a pushover. Obviously, Putin's not a pushover. So it's kind of a good battle. And again, I don't think either one, I think both of them do want to get the best of one another. You know, these are two super competitive guys. Personally, I think Putin's more intelligent than Trump. I do. Trump's probably a better deal maker. Maybe Trump's got more street smarts, but Putin's got more book smarts. I mean, I really do think that. But anyway, I guess my point is, I don't mind that they have a good relationship. This is not like, this is not high school, man. This is like big time stuff.
On the minerals deal, Mr. President, some of those minerals are in the east of Ukraine, not far from the front lines and in areas that Russia has occupied. Will you direct President Putin to withdraw his forces from those areas if there's U.S. interest there?
Well, we'll take a look at the time. We have a lot of area. It's a very big area we're talking about. So we'll take a look. I'll study that and I'll see.
And who would protect those minerals if they are U.S. interests? Would that be Ukrainian forces, European forces?
The agreement will protect them.
U.S. forces?
The agreement, yeah. We're signing an agreement.
Right, but what if Russia tries to invade or there's Russian aggression in those spots? What would
I
you do
just told
then?
you I don't think that's going to happen. And if that were going to happen, I wouldn't make a deal. If I thought that was going to happen, I wouldn't make a deal.
Some people may wonder why.
They ought to focus on CNN on survival, not asking me these ridiculous questions.
Why you have confidence that Putin won't violate a deal?
Focus on surviving, because CNN's got such low ratings. I don't think they're going to survive.
All right, there's his digs against Caitlin Collins. She keeps driving this, minerals question, and he's like, you need to focus on your network surviving.
People will ask why you have confidence Putin won't violate the deal.
I already mentioned Poland. Poland was under Russian control for decades after the Second World War. When I was a kid, I looked at the United States not only as a most powerful country, richest country in the world, the country that has great music, great movies, great muscle cars, but also as a force for good. And now I'm talking with my friends in Poland, and they are worried that you align yourself too much with Putin. What's your message for them?
This Polish reporter has gotten to ask a lot of questions. I wonder why. But anyway, I liked what he said in that. He's like, when I was a kid, I think in World War II or something, and I think this applied all the way into maybe the 80s and 90s, especially Gen X, us Gen Xers. I think the United States was always looked at as, the richest country, the best country, the nicest country, the most powerful country. We had good music, we had muscle cars, we had this, we had that. But, I will say, I think the respect level for the United States was lost after September 11th. I really do. I think everything changed after 9/11. And more importantly, after how it basically came out that 9/11 was just such a scam. And it was a scam. God rest all the souls of the people that died. But, the weapons of mass destruction and all that stuff, I mean, it all turned out to be not true. And I think that's where we lost our we lost our glitter and we lost our glow on the global stage, because people then didn't look at us with the same, almost like with the same appreciation, but also like they didn't worship us anymore because, we lied. We did. Bush lied. And I blame all that on those neocons, Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz, that whole neocons. And remember, those were Republicans. So anyway, interesting.
Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal? That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America. And for the good of the world. I'm aligned with the world, and I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred, and I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either.
That's a perfect clip that got zero attention. And honestly, 99% of the people in this world, maybe everybody besides you guys listening to the Deep Shallow Dive, won't even have ever heard that because they don't want you to hear that. That was a good clip by Trump. First of all, where he's like, I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with Zelensky. I'm aligned with America. That's what I want. I don't want you to be aligned with either one of those guys. I want you to be aligned with America. And then he followed it up and said, I'm aligned with the world. I want peace. I really do believe that about this guy. Well, at least when it comes to this, you guys know I'm not happy about what he's doing in Gaza. So maybe there's a bigger plan there that I haven't figured out yet. But again, that's a perfect example of a sound clip that'll never really see the light of day because it's not inflammatory.
So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
Oh, my God. Sorry, guys. I know we're at 1 hour and 25 minutes, but I think it's about to get zesty. Okay, because JD Vance... Trump said one more question, and then JD Vance just kind of like bogarted his way in. All right, come on, JD, let's get zesty.
I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Okay, so that was what JD Vance said. I mean, you have to think about if you thought that was inappropriate. I personally did not. I thought it was very appropriate, but Zelensky was like moving in his chair the entire time. So I think it's, you know what I'm about to say. It's about to get zesty.
Sure. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now the President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
Okay, so Zelensky's talking about Crimea, and this is 2015. So not to get into Crimea right now, but 2015, who was the president of the United States? Barack Obama. And again, remember, we've gone over this a few times, but in 2014, under Obama, that's when they overthrew Viktor Yanukovych in Ukraine. And so Putin ended up taking Crimea because of that.
2014.
2014 and
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
that's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal.
Okay, this is where they make things murky on purpose. So Zelensky just went from 2014 to all of a sudden saying, hey, we tried many times. I talked to him in 2019. So I wish they would stop the meeting and basically go through a chronology of overthrowing Yanukovych in 2014 to 2019 to Zelensky taking charge. It's like it's crazy. They just skip 5 years. So like I think it makes sense to talk about what happened during those 5 years.
I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about?
All right, so really quick, the ceasefire that Zelensky and Putin signed in 2019, again, I think that was true. Now, the question becomes in 2021, I talked about this earlier, it was Biden sending Boris Johnson to talk Zelensky out of the ceasefire. So they're not going to bring this up, but I'm telling you that's true. I'll find the clips from Professor Jeffrey Sachs and maybe John Mearsheimer and maybe a couple more, and I'll play those for you guys either Tuesday or Wednesday. But all right, let's see where this goes. I think we're going to get some fireworks.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are not strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring people, you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems? Bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your?
All right, you know what? I'm really glad we're doing this, and I'm really glad we've kind of gone through this whole thing. And I'll say this, my opinion has changed a little bit. I don't think what JD Vance is saying or asking is unreasonable, but I will say I do think he kind of lost his cool a little bit, and I do think he sort of snapped, and he's kind of snapped at Zelensky. I did not think that from just watching the clips online. So that's funny. I kind of reversed my opinion. Like from just watching the clips online, I'll be totally honest. I was like, you know what? I think JD Vance and Trump are totally justified. This guy's a worm. And I'm not saying he's not a worm, but I will say I think JD kind of lost his temper a little bit. Again, like I said, I don't disagree with what he asked, but he got a little hot and bothered.
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future.
All right, so Zelensky, I keep want to calling him Zelensky. Zelensky said, you guys are going to feel it in the future. Basically, he's insinuating that Putin wants to take over the world. All right, it's about to get zesty. Finally, at an hour and 32 minutes, Trump is about to lose his temper.
God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You
God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. Yeah, you're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people.
All right. You know what? Again, I mean, Trump is right. I know a lot of people criticize him. These are the clips that went viral, by the way. They criticize him for chastising, demeaning Zelensky or whatever. But he's right, man. He's right. Zelensky is treating this, in my opinion, very, very casually. And again, everybody, remember, he's lost 800,000 of his people. And then supposedly Putin's lost 700,000. That's 1.5 million dead young. Ah, that's a shame, man. That's a shame. And again, the other thing is when you're Zelensky and you're the guy begging everybody for money, you do have to have a level of, I guess, humbleness to you. You know, you really do have to be humble. And I don't think he really is. He's basically trying to tell Trump and Vance what they're going to encounter if they don't continue to support him to stand up to Putin. It's kind of like, honestly, it's kind of like Netanyahu trying to make the case of, hey, the entire Muslim world thinks of America as the big Satan, but don't worry, guys, we're the little Satan. And so just keep sending us money and we'll fight on your behalf. It really is the same. It is the same. And these two guys are both charlatans. Honestly, they really are. They really are, actually. And so, you know, even though I think JD Vance maybe picked a fight on purpose, it does seem like that. Now Trump's in it. But again, you know, these guys this is real things at stake. And again, real people's lives at stake. You're talking 800,000 Ukrainians have died already.
You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Okay, by the way, he's right about that. JD Vance is right about that. Zelensky came to, I looked it up, he came to America in October and he campaigned for Biden. He did. He absolutely did.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you can...
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I answer?
Wait a minute. No, you've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this.
All right, I'm going to let the next minute or two just play. But again, this is the clip, what you just heard, and then what you're about to hear. This was everything that went viral from Friday on. So really, none of the previous stuff that we listened to and talked about from the press conference, honestly, 99% of people don't even and never heard any of that. All they heard was this last maybe 1 or 2 minutes I played for you as things got testy, starting with JD Vance, and then what you're about to hear.
You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and you men are brave, but they...
Sorry, I promise. Last time I'm going to interrupt. But what Zelensky just said when Trump was like, we gave you $350 billion. Zelensky's like, you voted for your president. You voted for your president. Again, not appropriate. All right, sorry. No more interruptions.
We had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment, if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of times thank you to American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards.
Thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I wanted this. Look, If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire?
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you what
that wasn't
this
with me.
means.
That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
That was with
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins.
All right, I'm back. I had no idea what that means. Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. So I asked my boy ChatGPT, and ChatGPT replied back, the phrase Obama gave you sheets and Trump gave you javelins highlights the differing military aid strategies of the Obama and Trump administration toward Ukraine during its conflict with Russia. All right, let me read this. This is interesting. So the Obama administration, 2009 to 2017, during Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and the ensuing conflict in eastern Ukraine, President Obama's administration opted to provide Ukraine with non-lethal military assistance. This aid included items like blankets, medical supplies, and other non-weaponry support. The administration was cautious about escalating tensions with Russia and avoided supplying lethal weaponry to Ukraine. Okay, that's probably what they mean when they say Obama gave sheets. And then Trump administration, 2017 to 2021. In contrast, President Donald Trump's administration approved the sale of lethal military aid to Ukraine, notably the FGM-148 Javelin anti-tank missile. These shoulder-fired missiles are effective against armored vehicles and were considered a significant enhancement to Ukraine's defense capabilities. The decision marked a shift in U.S. policy, reflecting a more assertive approach in supporting Ukraine's military efforts against Russian aggression. The sheets versus javelins comparison underscores the transition from non-lethal to lethal aid between the two administrations, illustrating a change in the U.S. approach to assisting Ukraine during its ongoing conflict with Russia. Okay, you know what? I just learned something. So to me, that shows that the Trump administration was obviously way more militant than the Obama administration, because they gave javelins, Obama gave sheets. So I'm going to have to look into that more, because I find that a little, honestly, like a strike against the Trump administration number one. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Let's get back to this.
You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make, because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do we do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden, because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think?
What's this negotiation going to look like?
This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right, we'll see what we can do about it.
All right, man, that is it. Holy mackerel. That took a lot longer than I expected. I apologize. Well, I mean, I hope it was good, though. Honestly, like, we're at about an hour and 45 minutes. And if you listen to this entire thing, I hope it gives you, you know, just a much better perspective, especially in regards to, you know, again, media narratives that take root and take hold versus the reality of looking at the big picture. You know, I will say, could Trump have handled things better? Could JD Vance maybe not got as hot under the collar? Yeah, absolutely. But fundamentally, I really don't blame him. I mean, this is truly super serious. You've had 1.5 million deaths collectively between Russia and Ukraine. You've had $350 billion spent. And again, if you go back and look at Zelensky when he would come here during the Biden administration, you know, there's pictures of him, videos of him signing bombs with Josh Shapiro, the governor of Michigan. No, not Michigan. The governor of, oh my God, I'm blanking. Pennsylvania. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. I think Kathy Hochul, the mayor of, or governor of New York, I'm sorry. You know, they're doing press tours where they're signing bombs. I mean, that's disgusting to be signing bombs that could kill innocent civilians. You've got all the video of like Sean Penn going to Ukraine, him and Zelensky. He gives Zelensky his Oscar. Angelina Jolie goes to Ukraine. You know, all those celebrities that supposedly USAID paid them millions of dollars. I don't know if that's true or not. But again, all of that like celebrity factor, Ben Stiller going to Ukraine, supporting Zelensky, that's Hollywood theater, man. That's theater. And when I see that stuff, I mean, it honestly is a little bit of a red flag. I did think that was also interesting and funny the way Trump ended it, where he's like, this will make for some good TV. Anyway, all right, that is it, everybody. Holy mackerel. This was a spontaneous decision that I hope was good. I hope was interesting. I would love your feedback on it. Seriously, please hit me up any way possible. Text, DM, phone calls, smoke signals, whatever. But I would love opinions on if you thought this was helpful. All right, everybody, call a spade a spade.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.